Hello everyone, welcome back to TS Expert, and today in this tutorial we are going to create a polling booth with the help of React and TypeScript. We will be using Tailwind CSS for styling. So if I click on cats and dogs, so I'm comparing two things here. We are either voting for cats and dogs. So when we vote for cats, you see it goes green, and we start voting for dogs. And once the dogs have exceeded the limit, more quantity than cats, then we can see it's going green. That means it's a clear winner. Now we can start clicking back on cats, and if we keep clicking on it, you can see the cats win the votes. So then we have a winner as cat. So cat's the winner. So let's see how we can create this. So let's use npm create wait at latest to create a React app. Now just name your project whatever you want to name. I'll name it poll. Let's go to React and obviously TypeScript. Press enter. Just cd into the project and hit npm install to install all the dependencies. Now let's try to run this app with npm run dev. And when you have this pop-up, you can either control plus click on this link, or you can just simply type O and press enter. Now this will open our app in the new browser window. Here we have a default React template app with Vite. The next step we need is Tailwind CSS in our app. So we can go to the tailwindcss.com. We can go to the get started and just follow these instructions. I'm going to copy this command and paste it into my terminal. I'll split the terminal here. On one side we will let the app run, on the other side I can use all my packages. So I'm going to install that. Let's go back to Tailwind CSS, copy this, and we go to the Vite config.js file, remove everything from here and paste what we just copied from there. Looks like I just didn't copy the I of import, so we will just type that. That's all good. Now that we have installed Tailwind CSS, we can get rid of all the defaults that we don't need for our project. So I'm gonna delete these files. And here in index.html, I'll remove that favicon from there. We don't need it because I already deleted it. We will also rename our app to poll app. Let's go to the index.css file, delete everything inside the root class. And let's also remove everything else from this file. We can delete this file, we don't need this. And we can also remove the extras from our app.tsx. So we can just keep the fragments only and delete everything from app.tsx, as we're gonna start from scratch with an empty app. Let's have a look at the app. It's all blank, and check the console for errors. Now let's start creating the UI. Start off with creating a component folder. Inside component, we'll create our new component called pollcard.tsx. To our index.css file and add these following properties for our default styles. And also import Tailwind CSS into our index.css since we have it installed. So we need to import it up here in our index.css file. Let's check if our styles applies. As you can see, now we have a default background color. So that means our CSS, Tailwind CSS is working. Let's head back to our poll component and start creating some interface here. So first thing we're gonna do is we're gonna create a TypeScript interface for our property that we're gonna use as like dogs and cats. So let's do that. So let's create an ID with string. Usually you will see IDs most of the times is number, but in our case, we are using cats and dogs to identify. So we know using a number, in this case, it's gonna be a string. So name is gonna be string, words can be number. Now let's declare this component as a functional component. So we can use react.fc, react.functional component. Let's create a use state for poll option with an array of objects. Now we will pass the type interface to this use state variable as an array of objects with initializing all the values. Let's create a variable that calculate the total values with reduce method. So it's gonna use the reduce array method to iterate over poll options. Next thing we need is a function that will calculate our voting. Another helper function that will help to calculate the percentage of votes for a single option. And last thing we need is one more function that will checks if any votes have been cast. If not, there is no winner, so it returns null. Now we need to store all those results in a variable called winning option. So I'm gonna create that one here. And next thing we can just create our UI. Let's move on to the JSX. Before we start creating the UI, let's go to the app.tsx and render our poll component so we can see the changes happening in real time. So import your poll component in here and just render it inside the app. Now let's get back to this. We're gonna remove this and use the brackets. Then we're gonna hit the div. Here for the image, I'm not gonna pass it as the columns, semicolons inside it. We're not gonna use the curly braces. We're just gonna use the quotations because we're not using any images at the moment. But if you would like to import your own image in there, you can actually do that. So this is for something you can do. So with all the JSX completed now, let's have a look at our project, and it looks like this at the moment. So if we click on cats, yeah, so our voting functionality is working. And if we click on dogs, the winners, but we have a UI error, so we don't have enough width here. So let's figure it out. I've also noticed that we forgot to add one more thing at the bottom. So, when we are not voting at the moment, when you're on the UI, it should say click on an option to vote. So let's go that with the render. Let's conditionally render that. So when we have a 0 vote, then we will render a message. Please click on to vote something. But when we have any vote, so what we will do, we will just hide it. As you can see, click on an option to vote. So once we click on an option, it will go away. So now let's try to fix that UI error that we have. As you see, our component isn't wide enough. So what we need to do is we can go back and check our JSX, the parent component, if it has enough width. But to me, it looks like this div has the full width and auto width, so it shouldn't be a problem. So that means the problem should be in our index.css file. So let's go have a look over here. Then everything looks perfect here with the flex column in center. And it's, so let's just have a deep look. I think, yeah, I found it. Here it is. So it's, you see that semicolon here? It shouldn't be here. It should be a hashtag root. That's how I should be targeting the root, not with them. So let's change that and see. There it is. Now our app looks perfectly how we wanted it. So if you can see, I have actually added an image to my profile picture. So if you can see, I have added a me.png in that, and I've called that imported in my component and just used it as image. Before I just got rid of the semicolon and put a bracket there, but now I've actually put an image to make it look better. So if you want to do that something, you can use your own picture here. And now you see that message by default, when there's no vote, we are conditionally rendering a message, which is the last line of code of our JSX. This is what it is. And since there are 0 votes, so it's going to show that message to click on an option. Once we click on it, it will disappear, and now we have a winner because the cat's got the first vote. So as you can see, I have a vote counter as well. You can see the votes are being counted up here. So if I started voting that, it counted all together. Now we have 11 votes. So that's pretty much it. If we click on dogs for multiple times and see if the dog is a winner, and now we have dog as a winner, and that's pretty much it. So thank you so much for watching this tutorial, guys. Please make sure to hit that subscribe button and comment if you need any help. Until next video, thank you so much.